Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Indie Choice Picks. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing not one, not two, but three artists. Okay, they are the creator of the Mythosverse, which is a shared universe between the three artists. And they are going to come on and tell us about their characters, about their stories, what makes their characters unique, and how you can get your hands on it. So sit back and relax. Let us take you on a ride and enjoy this interview. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And remember to support all indie comic book artists everywhere. Enjoy. All right, guys. Thank you guys for coming on the show. This is very unique. I've never had four people on the show at once. Of course, I've only been doing the show for about a couple weeks now. So, hey, like you said, first time for everything. So, go ahead. Tell us about you guys' Kickstarter, the Mythosverse, Share Comic Universe. Introduce yourself to the audience and take it away. It's all yours.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. I'm Dan Sakuro. I'm the writer-creator of Adobe Kroger Dame Commander, one of the three titles of the Mythosverse.
Okay.
Go ahead, Brett.
I'm Bret Mcgowen. I'm another one of the creators of the Mythosverse. I'm responsible mainly as the writer and creator of Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale, the young adult title in the Kickstarter.
Okay. And next up?
And I'm Matt Trin, another creator for the Mythosverse. I created the comic Mythics with Beth Varney doing the artwork. And it's a pleasure to be on.
Fantastic. So how many of you guys are you guys working by yourselves in terms of your own individual story? Do each of you guys have a team?
Here's the cool part about it. Each of our stories developed independently of one another, but they sort of gelled organically as we spent more time talking with one another about our individual stories. We each have our own team. When I initially began to write my particular part that became my part of the Mythosverse, I was actually not a part of the shared universe. That's like I said, that sort of gelled organically as we found similarities in each of our stories, and it just seemed like they belonged together. Because once we decided to put them in the same universe, we required practically no revision of the core story. The only thing that was necessary was to agree on a set of rules that we would all follow moving forward, so that we would have consistency across all the properties. But each of the stories just sort of organically became part of a larger world as we moved forward.
Okay. What is the core story, if you don't mind me asking, or is that a surprise?
No. Mainly the core story is that the universe that this is set in, magic is real and it's accessible by anyone, although you have to be of the right temperament and have the right amount of discipline. So it's not genetically inherited. It's just there. It's a force that exists, and it's a tool to be used.
Now, is this the core story? Has it been written yet, or is it something that you guys are currently working on?
Oh, that's what you were getting. That's what I thought he was getting at. Yeah, I think Matt and I tinkered around building a creation myth. I mean, like, there's some background lore we've been working on for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We will probably get to that at some point, but for now, it's mainly focused on what's kind of become like I guess you could say the three launch titles.
Yeah, think of this as like how all those years ago in 2008, Iron Man was launched, and it focused on one story.
Yeah,
and they hinted at larger things to come, but as Brett said, each one of our launch titles is centered around our main protagonists and their little part of the universe.
Okay, fantastic. I like it. So, did you guys know each other before this whole project took off? Were you guys friends, or did you guys kind of like just meet on Twitter and say, hey, let's do a Kickstarter together. Let's do a mashup of all of our characters and share a universe?
It was kind of all of those.
Yeah.
It was a series of fortunate events, to turn a phrase. Basically, a friend of ours, Cody, who was responsible for creating Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy, was very aggressively promoting his campaign at the time. And as a result, he got put into Twitter jail and could not send direct messages.
Mm-hmm.
I said, hey, let me just set up a Slack channel, because that's what I use at work, and it's easy for me to swap over to another Slack channel. and I invited everyone that liked to talk together in that little group into the Slack channel. And several of them did, but the only ones that ended up staying were myself, Bret, Matt, and one other individual named Tank. And we just started talking together that way. And we all had our own ideas. And I think it was Bret asking Matt for assistance in editing or suggestions for a script that got them to collaborating. Am I right?
Yeah. Well, I think what happened around was when I was working on Changeling initially. I was sort of talking to I was just kind of handing it out to anyone who would listen, just to say, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think I can do better? I was just looking for feedback and edit, because I'm very anal when it comes to polishing my scripts. Like, I'm not a guy who wants to leave any stone unturned. And Matt was one of the first people who got back to me. I think also Dan and then a few others whose names are escaping me at the moment. But I think as we kept just bouncing ideas back and forth between each other, like Dan said, we just noticed, hey, these three ideas, they kind of mesh really well together. Why don't we just try it? See where it goes.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I had a question on the tip of my tongue. Let me backtrack in my brain a little bit.
It happens.
Okay. So going back to each of you guys' three individual stories with this comic, do you guys have any more artists who are trying to get into your universe? Are you guys going to do more? Like, what's the plan going forward in terms of expanding the universe?
Well, these three titles could be best described as phase one. If everything works out, yes, we do actually have another story in development that will be part of the second phase. It's more horror oriented. That's all I'll say.
Now, are you collaborating with other artists on Twitter, or are you guys just going to continue on with the original three and just kind of go from there?
In terms of my own project, I'm going to definitely do my best to stay working with the same individuals. These new projects will probably have their own creative teams, as far as I understand it. But yeah, we have had a number of individuals express interest in joining our universe because they see that we're very driven and very passionate about it, and there's quite a bit that can be done in the universe. So if I were them, I would want to join too.
For sure. I mean, it's a good way. I've seen a lot of creators doing the whole anthology kind of deal. It kind of helps share each other's audiences and just kind of get your name out there, because, for example, what I'm doing here with the interviews that I'm doing with the Indie Choice, it's more or less like my following isn't big, but it's enough to kind of get people interested in coming to check out the platform. Meanwhile, you guys have an audience that will love to see you guys come on the show. And it's kind of like a give and take kind of thing. And I like that when it comes down to these kinds of things. And you guys have been really killing it you guys have been live for what, a few days now, like 2 or 3 days?
Almost. It will be a week come Thursday.
Okay. I'm going to share the screen really quick. Let me know if you guys can see it. Okay. Can you guys see it?
I'm not seeing anything. Oh,
I see it now.
Yep, I'm seeing it.
Yep.
All right. So Mythos, share your comic universe. I'm really digging this picture right here. Who's responsible for this artwork right here?
That was by Luigi Terrell. Will, how familiar are you with Rags?
You're gonna have to enlighten me because I have no idea.
Oh man, you're missing out.
Okay.
Let's put it this way. Okay. Mostly naked ginger, zombies, quest for and a whole bunch of military slang.
Okay. And is that a comic book by?
Yes, it is. Yep. Yes, it is. It is by two guys we happen to know, Brian Ball and Trent Luther. We happen to be very close with them. Most of them, and their book Rags was pretty much a runaway hit. Got picked up by Antarctic Press. They are wrapping it up, and Brian was kind enough to lend us Luigi to get that print done, and which we are giving away as a backer reward.
That's a really nice picture that he did. I mean, You got all your characters right here. It kind of reminds me of that. God, I forgot what they called it, but it's a type of animation that is very, very popular in Japan, where they're doing more of a high speed, more motion and stuff like that. I forgot what they called it, but that's what this character right here looks like. Has that kind of animation style to it, and all of them actually, to be honest. I mean, it looks really cool. So I can dig it. You guys have been active for a few days. You already got about 1,500. When I checked on this earlier, you guys have 48 backers, and you guys kind of jumped up a few backers. So you guys are really doing something right there, and it's only been live for a few days. So congrats on that.
Thank you. We're pushing it as hard as we can.
Oh, I bet. So, all right. So let's start off with the first one, Channeling, an urban fairy tale, and that is gotten by Bret. Bret, go ahead. Explain what's going on with this book. Explain a little bit of story, your main character, and what we got going on. What can we?
Okay. So I guess the short version of Changeling is just combine a bunch of magical girl anime sensibilities with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and that's what you'll get.
Okay.
That's the short version. The long version is the story of a girl out in Aberdeen, Washington, named Maeve McKenzie, whom through a series of I wouldn't say through a series. It's more like just by chance find out that she happens to be a changeling, which the way I read it is she is a fae baby that was swapped with a human one, and now she is very confused because now she has to essentially figure out where she belongs and she's just starting high school. She's kind of a social outcast. Oh. And she comes from a devoutly Christian family, so that makes things very confusing for her. Okay. And not only that, she's also got to be dealing with a bunch of other supernatural happenings, like monsters popping up and the like in her hometown. Oh, and just on the off chance, Will, do you happen to know what Aberdeen is most famous for?
I do not.
Wow.
Yeah, they're testing me right now. Yeah, they're really testing.
It's where Kurt Cobain grew up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, I got you. I'm all over it. I'm on it. All right. So
yeah, it's not set during that time. It's modern time. It's modern. It's present day, and it's got not going to be. Actually, I don't think I really plan on referencing grunge all that much, just because it really doesn't mean anything to Maeve or kids her generation. It's just more her parents. Okay. Parents, if we're being honest. But yeah, I just want to. It's just that seems to be like the only thing people know about Aberdeen when you bring it up. But I mainly chose it just because it had that right setting of being. It was urban enough that it didn't feel like it was all the way out in the sticks, but it wasn't like a major metropolis like say Seattle. Mm-hmm. I wanted something. It was kind of It was isolated enough. Like there's Aberdeen back in the day was a big logging town. I think it still is to a point. Like there's still a lot of forest area, and I just thought it had that right atmosphere. That's why I chose it. Mm-hmm. What was it? But it's also there's also some personal thing. There's also some personal bits that kind of ended up in the book from my own life. Part of that is growing up in a Christian household. My dad happens to be a pastor. I've pretty much been in the church my entire life. There's also living with a disability because my brother was diagnosed with Asperger's when he was 10 years old, and it's sort of taking a look at what it's like living with that. Mm-hmm. And also, my best friend, she grew up biracial. She's half white, half First Nation Canadian, and if you don't know what that is, that's basically Canada's version of being Native American. And she kind of told me that because she grew up biracial, she always sort of felt like an outcast in both worlds. And so there's all these little things that come from my life, as well as things that when I was Maeve's age, like Maeve, when the book starts, she's like 14. When I was 14, I was really into anime like Bleach and Fooly Cooly. Like it's a mix of things that from my own life and things that I liked, sort of mixed together. There, as well as my love for like Celtic folklore because my Irish background.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's it's like it's about. Let me put it this way: this book is about as much me as I can make it without it being autobiographical.
Yeah, I get that. I know a lot of writers, they throw in personal aspects of their life because to me, I mean, I do that too with my books and comics. It's throwing in those little personal aspects to kind of give it a sense of realism. So if someone asks, did this really happen? You can say, yeah, it kind of did, kind of didn't, had to change names for the sake of privacy and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly. It's not just that; it also given its adding little things that are personal that makes it feel well, for one, it does make it feel more real, but also gives it a sense of identity because like let me put it this way: I can't walk in your shoes, you can't walk in mine. Neither one of us is going to know is really going to understand each other's lives,
Mm-hmm.
but our comics are sort of a way of sort of a kind of, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, sort of giving people a peek into our lives. And like when you get right down to it, every writer sort of is going to put things from themselves into it. It's because like I think it goes without saying that writing is a very personal experience.
Yeah, it makes it more authentic. It gives the readers a little bit more of an insight into the writer, and it kind of helps them, I would say, relatable in a sense.
Exactly.
I see a lot of writers and creators doing that. I've done it numerous of times, but very subtle about it. But at the same time, it kind of helps you if you're dealing with something that you haven't quite come to terms with, and you use it as a plot point in a book. It's been known to help people get over those experiences and help them move past them. So it's a little bit like a form of therapy in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not even really that unique. I mean, James L. Bard essentially did that with The Crow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know that one.
I know The Crow. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I hear they're doing a remake on that one. I hope that they keep it.
Yeah, it's like I'm sorry. Crow's my favorite movie of all time. It's like you can't replace Brandon Lee.
No, you can't. No, you can't. But they're gonna try. Hollywood likes to try.
Yeah, but yeah, I think. But yeah, I would also say like I even have a trade paperback in my room right now. But it's like probably the one example I can point to where I've seen someone sort of make such a personal project, but it kind of transcends, because I've seen like when a lot of writers make the work too personal, it ends up becoming they're essentially either writing about themselves completely, but without like it's like they wanted to write an autobiography, but they found out they weren't that interesting, so they kind of inserted themselves into something else.
Mm-hmm, exactly,
or because it's just so personal, it's like it's also very impenetrable. Like you can't really get to it. But like The Crow, because he wrote that to sort of deal with the death of his girlfriend, and everyone can relate to losing a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you can just, I think because he poured so much of himself into it, you can actually sort of the pages is just dripping off each of those pages. Like this book, it's a book that you cannot do this in anything else but black and white, with that sense of hyper realism.
I noticed a lot with that too. Not everybody is really interesting when it comes down to it. I know I've met authors and creators who were like, "Oh, I'm going to write my autobiography," and a few months later they haven't written. And I would ask them like, "Well, where's your autobiography? Are you still writing?" They go, "No, I'm not that interesting enough." And that's true in a sense, and that's why they get it. Well, why don't you make a fiction story and add aspects of your life in there to make it a bit more real, but also make it more compelling for a reader? I mean, that's what J.K. Rowling did with Harry Potter. I mean, a lot of stuff that Harry goes through are J.K. Rowling's own personal experiences and her urge to get away. And she just molded that character, Harry, into basically a fictional version of herself. And, a lot of people know a lot of aspects of her life based on Harry Potter, but they don't really know I wouldn't say for sure, but they don't really know that some of those I guess, aspects are from her. Like, she didn't come out and tell it like right away until I think way after the 7th book came out. Like, yeah, that happened to me. This is some aspects of my life that yada. So it's kind of like her autobiography, just more from a fictional standpoint. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, I even tell people, I mean, like, if I was, like, the reason why I even made Maeve a girl was because I wanted to keep a sense of distance between her and me.
Mm-hmm.
And if she had been a boy, I think I would have felt too tempted to do that.
Yeah.
To make it more about myself. And when I get right down to it, yeah, my life is not that interesting. So, it's just like, and besides, like, no one, when I get right down to it, no one's really interested in my life story. It's like, all right, I'm saying, and I'm speaking generically, like, let me put it this way, unless you've just lived this like super awesome life and you've just like
gotta
been,
tell
like,
people
the world, done all this cool stuff. Like, I'm trying to think of anyone who's like lived that large. Like, maybe off the top of my head, I don't know. Maybe
Christopher Lee.
You have to be Teddy Roosevelt to write an interesting autobiography.
Yeah.
His life was cool.
I mean, I don't even think that I might be wrong, but I don't even know if Neil Armstrong has an autobiography. I could be wrong, but I mean, that dude went to the moon, man. I would want to read that guy's autobiography of where he came from and how the dude got to the moon and what it was like up there and what you do after you come back. I mean, I know that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin and all these guys, they had went through a series of, I guess, a period of depression because you go on this awesome trip. You leave a planet that you've only known, the only one, and you go to a moon. And for once in your life, you're considered to be an extraterrestrial on another planet. And then you come back to Earth, and now you're like, well, what do you do? You know, and they went through a series of depression because it's like, well, you know, we've been to the moon and now we're kind of back here and we're stuck on Earth. What else is there? You know what I mean? And that kind of autobiography I would be interested in reading if there's one out there from one of those 3 astronauts, for sure. I would read that. That's amazing. I want to go to space, but then not really because that's scary as shit. So
it's damn dangerous to go to space.
Yeah, it's dangerous. People want to go to Mars, and I'm like, you guys can go. I'm going to stay right here.
You know? I think Buzz Aldrin has an autobiography, but that movie First Man is based off of the biography done by the man Armstrong trusted this story.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I have to watch that movie. I haven't watched it yet. I've been slacking on my movies. Not really. I saw Endgame, but I mean, that was like a staple. I mean, anybody has probably saw Endgame by now. Have you guys seen Endgame?
I haven't had a chance yet. My problem is it's 3 hours long and I have 2 young children. So I'm like, okay, if I take the family to go see it, I'm going to take my daughter out to pee at least 4 times. So I'm going to miss a lot of stuff. So I'm like, I may just end up just getting a babysitter and seeing it with my wife.
Yeah. Hey, it was 3 hours, but it went by really fast. When I was like leaving the theater, I go, is that it? I thought there was more.
Yeah, we'll never bet against a small child's bladder.
Yeah, no. I held on. I had to go to the bathroom really bad, but I was like, I can't move. I can't do this. I'm just going to sit here and do this. Okay. Moving on. We got book the second Adobe Kroger, Dan Commander. And I'm assuming that's you, Dan, right?
That is me. Yes. Okay.
Right.
So, in contrast to the previous book, Changeling, this is not a book for a young adult audience. This is explicitly intended for mature readers only.
I like it.
There is, it's. I guess it's safe to say this is the more action-oriented title of the 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's focused primarily around the exploits of Adobe Kroger. That's her front and center. And the main purpose of this story is to sort of set up the antagonistic faction, if you will, of the Mythosverse, at least on planet Earth. So the basic background of this story is that 1,200 years ago, the Holy Roman Emperor Charlemagne, when he anointed his 12 peers, in this world, they were actual holy magic-wielding warriors, straight out of Dungeons & Dragons. They could harness the power of light to smite the wicked and the profane magically. And they were formed as a counterattack against the increasing chaotic forces that were misusing the world's magical energies. One thing that we mentioned earlier is that, magic is freely accessible to everybody in this world. It's a tool, it's a force, it's just there. It's neither good or bad, it just is. But it's kind of like fire in that it's dangerous if it goes out of control or if it's misused, but it's very beneficial if contained. So in Charlemagne's time, it was very much the former. It was out of control. And so they kind of formed these 13 holy warriors to serve as a counterattack to that and bring it back under control. So after a short period of time, they were very, very successful in driving back the evil, chaotic magic forces, the misused magic forces. And they formed a world-spanning organization, which was called the Order of the Carolingian Cross. Mm-hmm. And they ended up essentially bringing magic and the paranormal under their strict regulatory control. Fast forward to modern day, the paranormal and magic still exists, but it cannot be used without their permission. To use magic without their consent is essentially a capital crime. You can either be forced into their service or worse. Often being forced into their service is as bad as death, but in this world, Adobe Kroger is a young and inexperienced holy knight on her very first mission, and this scene depicted on the cover is one of the events that take place during her first mission. She is sent to rescue a group of innocent girls from their imprisonment by a vile, hedonistic cult. And the events that take place in this first mission set up and establish a number of things that will be very important later to the universe as a whole. But the reader will not have any inkling of what that is until they see the payoffs. But hopefully when they see the payoffs, they'll go back and say, hey, that was pretty cool. Okay. Much like we did in the early MCU films, where you didn't quite understand why all this was important until you saw the big payoff.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sounds good. I like it, actually. I like the artwork. Who's responsible for the artwork and the cover art?
That is an extremely talented individual named Leandro Panganiman. That's his credit right there, the second name on the cover. And he is unfortunately based in the Philippines, so it's very difficult.
My artists are all based in the Philippines, too. I don't know what they're doing over there, but they're really damn good at their art.
No kidding. I mean, the artwork on the top of the campaign, Luigi Terrell, he's also from the Philippines.
Really? Did you guys find these people on Upwork? Because that's where I found my artist, on Upwork.
I found Leandro on Fiverr, actually.
Okay.
I found mine through it was kind of finding Victor, my artist Victor Kempon. I found him through a mutual on Twitter. And then later got his email address and then discovered his DeviantArt page. He's based down in Mexico.
Okay. And all the other people that I've interviewed so far have stated that they have artists like all over the world. But the one place that I'm hearing is the Philippines. And I go, man, I thought I was the only one, because I've had two Filipino artists. One is actually stateside. The other one is actually living in the Philippines. And I don't know where they're getting their skills from, but it's like, man, you guys are good at what you do, for sure.
Maybe Will's Portage so he'll spread his seed very far or something.
I'm thinking like the Vibranium meteor hit Wakanda. I'm thinking a talent meteor hit the Philippines.
Right. Just have them all drawing. They just walk around with tablets and they just draw. And just like, my artists can get shit done in like less than a few hours. And I'm like, I thought that would have taken you like a week. No, it took me like 4 hours. And I was like, oh, okay, man, here's your money. I got another packet for you. Just sit tight.
That's kind of been my experience with Leandro. It's almost like a factory. Mm-hmm. Like this page here, it only took him a couple of days to turn it in once I had approved the layout, and that's because of the preposterous level of detail in the cityscape. And I always joke that I was a bit of an asshole in my first script because I set the events of the first script in a sea of skyscrapers. So there was a lot of very intricate perspective drawing to be done, but Leandro just completely annihilates it, as you can see here.
Yeah. Is it all going to be in black and white, kind of like a little manga?
Yeah, for right now it is, because Leandro is obviously a premium artist, and I can afford to have him produce the entire first issue. But if you scroll back up to the cover, the cover was colored by industry professional Bret Smith, who has quite a bit of experience in the industry. And if the campaign does well, I have spoken with him, and he is willing to color the interiors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, the contrast here is looking really good by itself. Black and white kind of gives you that manga kind of feel to it. And the last manga I read was probably Naruto. It's been a minute since I picked up a manga, but it kind of gives you that sense right here. And we got these glow effects down here. I mean, it looks like it's just ink, but I'm pretty sure there's some filters and effects that go into this. So
I'm pretty sure too. And
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. This will work as a black and white book, and it's totally appropriate for the story. It's very stark and it's very realistic, and it's pretty hard-edged. So much like The Crow, black and white will be very appropriate here, not just for the extreme action that will take place. Like, for example, I always joke that one of my directions to Leandro is, quote, "It should be a bloody mess," unquote. So I make it.
That's true. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. How many pages will this be? Are we sticking with the usual 20 to 25 page book, or are we going further than that?
Well, as of right now, it's 24 pages,
Okay.
and I have it scripted out to pick up immediately in issue 2.
Okay.
But that is open to change if the campaign does really well. I'll be more than happy to extend it. But as it stands right now, I've written it to be 24 pages, and the reader gets all the information they need to really draw them into what will happen next. There's an insane amount of very high octane action in this issue. The page you're looking at here is just page 7, so quite literally, she immediately leaps right into action from the get-go. It's kind of a cold Batman open where they start at the very beginning of the mission, and you don't know any of the details yet. You kind of learn as they go. And you learn who the villain is through what he does, and the things that he does make him truly despicable alone. And by the end of the issue, the reader will have all the information they need to appreciate the severity of the threat and the stakes. So
okay, all right. Brett, I forgot to ask you, how many pages is Changeling?
Off the top of my head, a little over 30.
Okay. So you guys are looking at a little bit of a size of a usual comic book, as opposed to like some of the 60, 100 pages ones I've seen before. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense if you're doing an anthology. So both of them look really cool, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. So last but not least, Matt, you are Mythics.
Yep.
Go for it. Mike is yours.
All right. Mythics is about Althea Fletcher, a young woman on her first mission as well, making this whole first set origin stories for our characters. And except that on this side, you've got the flip of Adobe Kroger, where you have this character who can use magic and does jobs to protect the human realm from misbehaving supernatural creatures. And I suppose she has to do it all without her magic. So she'll use all kinds of knowledge that she studied during her time in the spirit realm to deal with certain creatures, such as, for example, Spriggan, turn your clothes inside out, because apparently that's the equivalent to holy water. And with pixies, you get rid of them by giving them what they want, which is usually some cheap, shiny ribbons or like. And in this one, for the first 10 pages, she completes her first mission, which is basically to rescue a changeling baby from getting sacrificed by witches to summon a demon.
Okay. All right, I'm seeing it right here. It's some pretty good artwork here.
Yep.
All
Beth
right.
does some solid work.
Yeah, they do. So, how'd you come up with this idea? Now, I think I went back to asking if you guys like knew each other before you guys said no, but you kind of collab. Did you already have this idea? And this goes for all of you guys. This is a question for all of you guys. Did you guys have this question? I mean, this idea for your books already thought out before you launched, or got together and decided, hey, let's put a book together, or was this something that just kind of came after you guys agreed to do an anthology book?
Well, speaking for myself, Adobe Kroger was already written before I'd even met Matt or Bret. It actually, the first story was a novel that's currently on Amazon, and the comic is more of a prequel to that. And it had already been all scripted out. I had plans to produce this comic after I had managed to locate Leandro last year, and after we met and started talking online, that was when I decided to join up with them.
Okay. Did that go for the rest of you guys? Did you guys already have these scripts just sitting on a shelf somewhere until you guys decided to make the book, or what's up with that?
Speaking for myself, well, where Changeling came from was from a previous story idea that I sort of kind of left off to the side. I might revisit it someday. But in that book had a character who was a changeling named Maeve, but was a different character. I just sort of stuck with it because I liked the name, and I had this image of like this sort of this banshee girl in my head, and I just kind of didn't want to let it go. And it's then when I kind of saw this when I kind of saw Comicsgate taking off and all these other creators sort of putting their books out, I decided, you know what, I mean, because I've actually tried making comics before, and they never really, they all just kind of were failures to launch. Let's just put it that way.
We all remember our first comic book. Don't worry. Never mind.
I wouldn't even consider those my first. Like I said, they never really got they never got far, is what I'm saying.
No, I would agree. Me too. I'm actually thinking about going back and redoing my work, because I got a Filipino artist and he makes shit look good. So he might be making some extra money from me.
As like I said, I've tried making a couple comics before. They never got very far. And then Comicsgate happened, and I decided, you know, I want to give it another shot. Like, what if I got to lose it? I don't really have anything to lose, and then it just sort of took off.
Mm-hmm.
Better than I could have hoped. And
I've been seeing that with the whole Comic-Gates movement, that a lot more people are becoming a bit more receptive to independent creators, and I guess that's due to a fact that Comic-Gate started with people who were in the mainstream industry, like with DC and Marvel, and just kind of broke off. So,
I guess it was just I guess in my case, it was just being in the right place at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'm kind of impressed how all you guys are guys and all three of your characters are females. That's pretty impressive too. So if someone tells you you're not for diversity, you just go like, "Hey, you read my stuff?" You know?
Well, my artist is Mexican. My colorist and letterer is a Russian chick. So,
you know what?
Well, you might want to leave out the Russian part.
Yeah, probably for the best.
Yeah, just keep that quiet. But I remember I didn't know what Comic-Gates was, and I tagged it or hashtagged it in a post before, and man, I got attacked by the other side, getting called all sorts of names and being called a hate mongrel or something. I'm like, I don't even know what this hashtag was, and that's when I looked into it, and I go, this is getting kind of out there. But when you look at both sides, it's like the people who are part of Comic-Gates, I mean, they have no problem with diversity, and I've seen that happen with this, with you guys, with everybody else who come on the show. They've always been pro Comic-Gates, to where they don't really care about forcing the diversity into their work. They're more or less about just telling good stories, and that's what it all comes down to. I'm pretty sure you guys can agree on that.
1000%, yeah. And if the characters, first and foremost, make them care about the characters. That's all. Yeah. And the characters just happen to be female in my mind's eye. Like, if you scroll up, you see the promo image. Spoiler Scroll down a little bit to the black and white image.
And yes,
That one. Yeah. Spoiler, sort of. All those characters are female.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I like when you guys when any artist gives, if it's a minority or not. It's, to me, what makes a good story is having a character who's not only relatable but who has a story to tell. Because we work for creators. We create comics and we create these characters, but it's great to have a character tell a story, by themselves without having the whole, oh, well, I'm gay. Yeah, okay, that's great. Can you fight a vampire? No, then it doesn't really make sense. You know what I mean? It's just those little things right there to where, like, these kinds of stuff, like, this looks like a badass picture. I can already tell. Like, I'm all for, like, having women as leads, and this is something that I'm really, like, 100% behind, because just by looking at them right now, I can tell, man, they must have some really cool backstories, and I can't wait to dig into it and figure out what's it about.
Well, it's 3 women and 1 teenage girl.
Yeah, well, hey, they're still female. I was talking to someone today about the Endgame movie and Captain Marvel, and how people are bashing Captain Marvel because she's a female lead, and I'm like, that's not what's going on. It's not about Captain Marvel being a female lead. It's about how Brie Larson carries herself as an actress. That's all that's about. But that's a whole nother story for another time. We're not going to get into that. But I do like this picture right here. Is this like a promo, like a freebie for people?
Well, this may be a stretch goal print that Brett Smith may color. I'm going to approach him and ask him if he's up for it. If so, then if we do well, then I will be absolutely ecstatic to offer this to backers.
Because I would like to get my hands on one of these. What's the story with the dragon? Is that just a generic background, or is there some type of?
That's important, but we don't want to spoil anything.
Okay, no problem. But
suffice to say, this is a very important event that can happen if we can get our books out there.
Fantastic. Well, you know what? A lot of people who are running their Kickstarters, they're actually starting to use the interviews that I'm giving you guys as an update for their backers. So if you guys want to do that, let me know, and I can get you guys the YouTube link or whatever beforehand, and you guys can use that as an update for your backers, just to kind of get the word out and kind of get this thing going. Because, Kickstarter is catch-22. If you don't hit your goal, nothing really happens. And I'm already invested in you guys, so I really want this to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Agreed. And I would be very happy to use your interview as an update, if that is absolutely something that you would let us do.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I do this show, is to get creators like yourselves more exposure to your backers. Because I'm not necessarily sure what your network is like in terms of you guys having 53 backers. But I'm pretty sure those people that you don't know, they were probably searching on Kickstarter. They saw your project, they thought it looked cool, and they backed it. It's always fun, and coming from a backer myself, it's always fun to check those updates. And some updates are just, written emails about printing, and some updates about characters and maybe an additional stuff. But I've learned that seeing a visual or audio update for the backers really kind of strikes a chord with people who are backing, because you get to see the creators, you get to see that they're actively working on bringing this book to life. And it just kind of gives you a bit more of a rapport when it comes to you saying, yeah, thank you for backing my project. I want to keep you guys updated to the fullest extent, and just shooting them this video kind of helps out with that. You know what I mean?
I agree. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. That's absolutely true.
Fantastic. Well, guys, we're coming down to the end. Do you guys have any questions for me or anything like that you want to ask? Or I got one question for you guys.
Go for it.
Well, my question would be, how long is it going to take to get the books out once it's done?
Oh, well, that's the rub, isn't it? Well, we've set a hard deadline of September.
Okay.
And given the pace that we've observed that our artists are working at, that's entirely within the realm of possibility if we manage to get funded. And if we don't, I mean, the books will still come out. It'll just take longer.
Okay.
But yes, if we manage to get funded, Adobe Kroger personally already has 9 pages complete. So, and he turned, given the rate that he works at, that would be a perfectly reasonable deadline to meet.
Okay.
And I can attest to a similar one. When I spoke with Victor, he ballparked the book at 30% complete. What about with Beth?
Oh, well, right now we've got the first 5 pages done. The script is mostly complete. In that there's probably some edits I'm going to make before it goes to completely to her to draw up the pages, but she's an incredibly fast artist, and as you can see, talented colorist. So I think it'd be about 2 or 3 months before she's able to get it completed.
Okay.
Don't forget, she's also lettering it.
Yeah, that too.
I've said that unironically, Beth is the hardest working woman in comics I've seen.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And it's always fun to see. I don't meet a lot of female artists these days, but it is when you do meet one and you see their work, it just kind of blows you away. Because I mean, I'm just going to be straightforward, you guys. My wife keeps me in check, so we can all say that women just are better at some things than men.
In my case, you'll get to see Ginger's work as she colors and letters Changeling, and she was. Man, I'll say this right up front. I'll say this right out. I completely took a chance on Victor and Ginger, and holy crap, has it paid off because their styles have meshed so well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you it's kind of hard when you're choosing an artist, and then when you finally get the artist, I mean, you just kind of gotta beg sometimes and say, "Please don't leave me. I love your artwork. Finding new help sucks." You know?
It's more like that kind of happened to me, but yeah, it's like, but it was sort of a different process for me, like because Dan put when Dan was scouting out artists, he was a bit more rigorous than I would say I was.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, he was. Yeah, he just commissioned them, and it was just basically just him auditioning them. Me, I just sort of took recommendations, and when I was looking for a colorist, Ginger was like one of the first to offer. I just took a look at her body of work, and I just decided, you know what, let's just try and see if it works, and it did. Like I said, it's one of the first times I've gambled and it actually paid off.
I bet that's really good. And like from what I'm seeing with the Kickstarter page, it seems like you guys are doing a very good job. And so I'm rooting for you guys. I'm hoping you guys will make it. I would do my share of promoting for you guys, of course, just to help get the word out and trying to get this thing funded. You guys have 25 days. Honestly, there's no doubt in my mind you guys won't reach that goal.
Here's some perspective for you, Will.
Say that again?
Here's some perspective for you.
Go ahead.
We the first 1,000 within our first 24 hours.
Yeah. And I heard that like having a good first day is really effective with Kickstarter because you get into Kickstarter's algorithm and they start sharing like your work and everything with the people who are just literally browsing around. So
not just that, consider what we were up against. It was open. We launched this thing on opening night of Avengers Endgame.
Wow, really? And you guys did $1,000 on your first day.
Yeah. Funny story about that. I'd initially intended to launch us on the 5th of April. Then when Brett Smith, the industry pro who colored the cover, recommended that we do not launch directly before tax day because people are concerned about that. So he said, move it to after tax day. And I just picked, okay, April 25th sounds great. And I didn't really think what is happening on April 25th.
Well, that goes to show you that big blockbuster releases don't really have a problem when it comes to Kickstarters now, right? You guys
we could not ask for a better opening given all the circumstances. We had a lot of very dedicated, passionate fans jump on it almost immediately. So no complaints there. It could have gone a lot worse given the circumstances.
You guys made the first 1,000 on opening weekend of Avengers Endgame. So I would just say, if any excuses that anyone else has, I would just say, hey guys, have you checked out the Mythosverse? They opened the Endgame night and made $1,000 on their Kickstarter. So hey, it's doable for sure if you've been planning. I've been seeing you guys on Twitter. You guys have been really planning this out very thoroughly. I think I came to Dan first and asked him, hey, you guys want to come on the show? And he said, no, we're going to wait until the Kickstarter came out. And I've been watching you guys slowly but surely. I think all of you guys actually, when I made the announcement, commented on the video that I made first, asking to come on the show. And I didn't know you guys were all one big group. I thought it was all separate projects. So, you know.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate what you're doing for independent creators. So I absolutely wanted to jump on the opportunity to come on your show and cross-promote.
That sounds great. I appreciate you guys coming. And like I said, when this is uploaded, I'm going to have it up by Wednesday for you guys. And you guys can use the link however you want, blast it out, give it to your backers, your followers, let them know. And if you guys know of any other indie creators who don't know about me yet, let them know, because I am looking to start scheduling for June. My May is already full. I have interviews 2 to 3 times a week. So it's been really busy for me going to work and then coming home and trying to stay awake.
Oh, don't I know it. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you're doing it. I know that this is your second job, and we all feel that because this is our second job too in all of our cases. So definitely understand the extra effort and dedication it takes to do what you're doing. And I can't thank you enough for having us on.
No problem. Whenever you guys, after this Kickstarter is successful, see, I'm calling it out right now. It's already going to be successful for you guys.
Yes.
After this one is successful, if you guys have run your second one, I would love to have you guys back on the show. Just give me a shout. You guys can find me on Twitter. You know how to find me. I'm not hard to find, you guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
You're also not the first one to call it that we're going to be successful.
I see projects like this, and I'm just like, oh, I see the opening cover photo. I'm just like, I hope this thing gets funded, because just looking at that cover photo just makes me like, I need to know what these characters are up to. What are they doing? That's my biggest drive when it comes down to reading a book. Is the character relatable in some way, and if so, what's the story? That's my selling point right there.
Well, we're huge fans of the medium too, and I couldn't agree more with you.
I agree. So Dan, Bret, Matt, thank you guys for coming on the show. Like I said, whenever you guys are doing any type of Kickstarter or crowdfunding, just give me a shout. I would love to have you guys back on the show.
Will do. It was a great pleasure. Thanks for having us.
No problem, guys. You guys have a good evening, and I will talk to you guys soon.
All right.
You
Bye.
too.
Bye-bye. And that does it for another episode of Indie Choice Picks. If you are an indie creator and you are working on a campaign or a webcomic or an Indiegogo, please let me know in the comment section below, or you can find me on Twitter at Will@Heroic or on Instagram at Will@Heroic So please send me a DM. Let me know if you guys like these videos. I'm doing my best to support all indie creators everywhere. So if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and of course share the video with all your friends and family. And I will see you guys next time with another wonderful interview. Have a good night.